אלוהי, נשמה שנתת בי, טהורה.
Okay, hello everybody. Hello YouTube and hello Facebook. And we are back at it here with some Torah, but it's a special day today because we are broadcasting from the Ohala conference at the Omni Interlaken or something like that hotel in Broomfield, wherever we are.
Broomfield, Colorado.
Broomfield, Colorado. And I'm here with my colleague and friend, Jan Saltzman, Rabbi Jan Saltzman. Congratulations, Jan, for you are now the president of the Ohala Rabbinic Association.
That's right, and Cantorial.
And Cantorial Association. So this is a special day. This is a special day. So yeah. So and we are also at a special parsha. So we're at Parashat Sh'mot, beginning a new book. So we'll jump right into the Slonimer. And for those of you who have the book and will follow along, we are in the book of Shemot in Netivot Shalom. Let me lift it up here, Netivot Shalom. And we are, so Amud Chaf Vav, and we'll do, I'll read a little bit from the beginning of Ha'anacha hi etchalta de geula. The sigh, or the oi, we'll talk about the oi here in a moment, is the beginning of salvation or redemption, the geula. And we'll start here on page Chavav, then we're going to jump to page Chaf Zayin, so I'll direct us through this. All right. So you told us, Jan, about this earlier today. You shared with us about the bumper sticker that says...
Our bumper sticker for our synagogue says, "More joy, less oi."
More joy, less oi. Amazing. And in fact, in some ways, this is the mission of Ohala and the Jewish Renewal Movement. And we're here participating with other colleagues in study and discussion and camaraderie and prayer. And it's just been a wonderful,
great conference.
Wonderful conference so far. And
you were saying that oi is not oi. There's no more salmon. On the dish. There's something more. There's something more to oi.
So we're all about bringing joy into Jewish practice. And what the Slonimer is doing beautifully here is he's going to go into the anatomy of oi. And just to recap here, give you the end and the beginning, is that there's something so important about knowing the oi and experiencing the oi before we can get to the joy or to the redemption, right? So let's jump right in, and this is from the quote from the Chumash. It's Vayehi bayamim harabim ahem, and it was so in those days way back when. Vayamat melech Mitzrayim, and the king of Egypt passed away. Vayanchu bnei Israel, and the people of Israel were groaning min avodah from the harsh work, from the labor. Vayizaku v'ta'al shavatam el Elohim min avodah, and they vayizaku is zaka is like a cry. So it's like a cry. So they cried, and their cry. So you see, by the way, you see here that v'yanchu is anacha, v'yizaku is zaka, and shavatam shava'ah. Those are three different words that say basically oi, right? They moaned, they groaned, and they sighed, and you see all these synonyms for the expression of deep distress. And batal shavatam Elohim in avodah, and these moans, these expressions of distress, rose up to God. Is the pasuk, and then it continues. וישמע אלוהים את נאקתם, ויזכור אלוהים את בריתו וגומר וידע אלוהים. So, and God heard their cry, na'akatam. Here's a fourth word. Na'aka is also it's another word for oi. So you see, it's like Eskimos have 7 different words for snow.
Yeah.
Jews have at least 4 different words for oi.
For oi.
Okay, this is the anatomy of oi.
Oh, the anatomy of oi. It's beautiful.
Right. So that's a pasuk. And what he's going to tell us here, I'll wrap these couple paragraphs up. I'll summarize it, and then we'll go into his beautiful teaching. Is that there was something about that complaint and where it came from, experientially, energetically. It came from a deep place. That's why finally God heard it.
Right.
Because it came from a place a real place where God could really hear it, right? There's something, they were at the depth of a certain level of distress that signaled to God, okay, this is it's time for redemption, right? Because remember that they have been enslaved depending on how you count, for some count 210 years, others count 400 years, depending on, there's some biblical counts on this. But many generations have been enslaved for a long time. How come they didn't cry 200 years earlier?
Right, or why didn't God remember them before?
Exactly.
And it's because they finally cried out from that depth.
Because they finally got to that place where
God remembered.
Exactly. And you can ask the question, well, they weren't having fun, so what was happening? And then he also explains that a little bit. And what was happening is that they were frozen, or they were complacent, or they were accommodating of their situation. They didn't. It's like whatever. We'll bear this out. So they didn't really come to the place where they recognized that their situation was wrong enough, was so deeply wrong, and they had to express it in some ways. Right. In a real heartfelt way. So, okay, so that is the thesis in a nutshell, and now we'll go to the words of the Slonimer, and we'll dialogue about that a little bit. So, Daled lashonot elu shel anacha. These 4 synonyms. Lashonot means literally language, but these 4 synonyms of ouch, right? וכן הלשון הנזכר עוד בפרשה, ראו ראיתי את עוני עמי ואת צעקתם שמעתי וגומר, לשון צעקה. So he says the 4 synonyms for crying out for oi that he showed us here, ויענחו, ויזעקו, ותעל שבעתם, in na'akatam, right? Those 4 words. He says, and there's also a 5th word.
Of course.
Okay? So these 4 words, וכן הלשון נזכר עוד בפרשה, ראו ראיתי את עוני עמי, later on, a few psukim later, God will say, I have seen the misery of my people, ואת צעקתם. There's a 5th synonym, and they're crying. לשון צעקה. וכדכתיב בפרשת כי תבוא, further on, ונצעק אל אדוני אלוהינו אבותינו, וישמע אדוני את קולנו, and we have called out to our God, our Father, and God heard our voice. קולנו, הם כנגד ה' חלקי הנשמה, נפש, רוח, נשמה, חיה ויחידה. I say, so why are there 5 different synonyms? They parallel the 4 levels of the soul. Right? So the 4 levels of the souls in Kabbalah are nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, v'yichida. So here you have a complete full soul expression of complaint, right? Of discontent.
And lament? Is lament in there?
Lament. Yeah. All those, right? So how beautiful is that, and well, later on, I think he's going to also talk about when it says, "And God heard our voices," You know, I think he's going to get to that, so I don't want to jump the gun. But kolenu shamayt kolenu, that not diburenu. He says it's not. God did not hear our words. He heard the sound.
Yeah.
You know,
Cool.
came from a deep place, right? So language is very specific. It's very exacting here. כי הגלות לא הייתה רק על הגופים, because the exile was not only an exile of the body, אלא נגעה עד המדרגות הגבוהות ביותר, because the exile affected up till the highest level. Not only the body, but the soul, not only the soul, but the 5 levels of the soul. שכל חלקי הנשמה היו משוקעים במ"ט שערי טומאה, because for the people of Israel, it was all the parts of the soul that were caught up. The Meshukaim is immersed in the 49 gates of what's called impurity. Or you can think of it of negativity, of to be the opposite of holiness, basically. So they were down in spiritually, they were down in the mud. They've lost their spiritual essence in the whole Egypt situation, in the whole Galut. So,
and in some ways, they were so schmutzed up that they actually had no way to approach God yet, because you need to be, look, tahor, you have to be clear, so that you're not distracted by anything. When you're bringing your offering, and if you're distracted by something, you could blow up. It doesn't work. So they were so schmutz that they couldn't even get to a place where they couldn't come close.
Right. They couldn't come close, and they couldn't even speak. They couldn't. It's kind of like you could say they were in this amnesia, right? There's God amnesia. It's like what we know we're in deep service, but we don't know where to turn to. It's like the spiritual option, or the connection that Moses had,
Or building on what you said before, they didn't even know they were in spiritual pain.
Right.
In pain.
They
just thought, this is just my job. So,
ועל זה נאמר, וישמע אדוני את קולנו. There it is. And it said on this, on the pasuk, and God heard our voices, היינו קול פשוט בלא דיבור, that this was a simple sound with no words. This isn't liturgy. They didn't go to the ta'anit, or to the prayers for when we're in trouble. No, they went into the belly. Right? שיקאי על כל הלשונות של הנחה שהם הנחה בלא דיבור. And he says, and this is the case with all 5 synonyms of groaning, שהם הנחה בלא דיבור, that all those 5 have no words. This is a wordless expression of distress, right? Now, I want to tell you, I feel that even discussing this is kind of like, feels a little uncomfortable, because who wants to talk about, the details, the art of complaining. It's like,
or how is it possible to talk about something that is so deeply painful and there are no words? I mean, you're caught. If I can't express it, then I can't begin to release it. And so there's no words here. There's just the sound. But
right. There's no words to talk about it. And I'm for me, it's because I think in the culture we've learned not to complain. Right?
Or complain about the wrong things, perhaps.
Or complain about the wrong things. or complain superficially, but basically stay silent. Don't we? Aren't we? I mean, there's a stereotype about Jews, that we complain and we're. But I think just general, in even not Jewish culture, but Western culture, it's like, it's I have a friend that said his mother used to say to her, if you have nothing nice to say, just don't say it. So, but here we're talking about, boy, what do you do when you're in distress? Is it really right to stay silent? Right? And I think that's where he's going. So because I'm going to own that I like to be a good boy.
Yeah.
I like to put a nice face on, and I like to smile. You know what I mean?
I do.
So it feels a little like, really, you must be kidding. I mean, there's this whole thing about like, what's a real good complaint? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But he'll tell us that it's really important to look at this.
Okay.
So okay.
I got it. That's
Good.
great.
Okay. So ד' לשונות אלו הם כנגד ד' עולמות, אצילות, בריאה, יצירה, and עשייה. Okay, so it says, and the four first synonyms for complaining, for groaning, parallel the three worlds of the Kabbalistic three worlds of Atzilut, emanation, Beriah, creation, Yetzirah, formation, and Asiya, manifestation, right, action. So it's not only the five levels of the soul, but it's also the four worlds of reality. Right. This is sort of so. What is that? How does that?
It permeates every fiber of every being.
Do you see that?
Yeah. It's not just this; it's also this.
Yeah. And
it's keeping me stuck.
Yeah.
Completely stuck.
Yeah.
Until I can express it.
Yeah.
If I can express it, we can get out of here.
Exactly. Yeah. But this is really also psychologically really wise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't keep it bottled up, man.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
We know that. So yeah. I mean, therapists pay their bills because
that's right, because we don't pay.
Yeah, because we need that. Okay, so ונגד ד' אותיות של שם הוויה ברוך הוא. And also parallels the four letters of the ineffable name of God.
Oh, okay.
Shem Havaya, Yud Hey Vav Hey.
Okay.
Right, so each, this is, what is that? What is that?
What is that taxonomy?
Yeah, what is it? No. What do you make of that?
Yeah.
That each one of those synonyms is parallels one of the God's names.
Okay. Let's find out.
Yeah, so let's find. והלשון ונצעק הוא נגד בחינת קוצו של יוד משם הוויה ברוך הוא. So, and the fifth word, ונצעק, is, and we cried out rather, not bacha, not to cry as sobbing, but to cry out, to scream out, right? So, והלשון ונצעק הוא כנגד בחינת קוצו של יוד. So this is the little tip of the yud in the ineffable name of God, Yud Hey Vav Hey. So, which is that's the fifth word. That makes the five. וכנגד זה כתובים בגאולה גם כן ד' לשונות. So parallel to this, we also have four synonyms for the word redemption. Right? So for each synonym for crying out, we also have a synonym for redemption.
Okay,
and that's actually in, we say that at the Passover Seder. It's in the Haggadah, right?
Yeah. I will redeem you, I will
exactly.
Whatever those are. Yeah.
Exactly. והוצאתי
there you go.
והצלתי וגאלתי ולקחתי.
There you go.
I took you out, I saved you, I redeemed you, and I took you. Yeah. וכנגדם תקנו חז"ל ד' כוסות בליל להתקדש חג הפסח. And parallel to that, right? So corresponding to that, we have the 4 cups of wine that we drink at Passover Seder.
Nice.
Right? So, ואחר כך כתוב עוד לשון חמישי. And then it's written, fifth synonym for redemption, והבאתי אתכם אל הארץ. וגומר, and I brought you to the land. שנגדו הוא כוס חמישי ככוסו של אליהו. And that's the fifth
cup
of Elijah's cup. שהם גם כן כנגד ה' בחינות הנשמה. And all this parallels also the 5 levels of the soul. Right? So we said neshama, nefesh, ruach, neshama, yechida, chaya v'nechida. Okay? So I think this is as much as we're going to.
Okay.
I think this is the gift. The
we have all these bricks. We have all these bricks that line up. So what's the? I also was wondering the Nitzak and Isaac. It's the same. It's the same word. Yeah, it's the same word.
There's there's a closeness there between Yitzchak and Tzachak,
Yeah. One's
which is
laughter and
interesting.
one's, I mean,
Which is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Because Tza'ak and Yitzchak, so you have the Yitzchak, you have you have the Chet and the Ayin in there. That's a
oh, okay,
difference.
okay,
Yeah,
so that's, okay.
that's a difference between them. But Tza'ak Ayin is 70 is Sod, and Chet is 8, which is, so we from if you go to Nitzak has the Ayin, which is 7, 0, but 7,
Mhm.
but then you go to Tzachak, laughter, which is 8, so it's, you're,
Beyond,
yeah,
beyond the
go-
seventh,
exactly.
beyond the seventh level, right,
Right.
right. So new, so what, what do we get
So
from
what's
this,
the take
right?
home? Yeah.
So there are 5 different places out of which I can cry out that are aligned with the 5 levels of the souls, which are aligned with the 4 cups of Pesach, but then the 5th cup of Elijah,
Which is
Messianic, which is
exactly.
like, and also just the beggar prophet shows up at your
That's
door.
right. Right.
So all those images of Elijah.
Right.
And so there is in this moment a tapestry that is woven out of all of these different threads.
Mm-hmm.
That is a strong tapestry. But here's the question: so what happened to the oil?
Mm-hmm.
So our initial question was,
Right.
In our modern times we say oi in a very superfluous way.
Exactly.
So what's the real oi?
Yeah.
It's when it is jiggling all these 5 levels. I mean, I'm just.
Well, yeah, I think the real oi is not complaint, but it's deep complaint. It's not complaining. Like, it's
No.
like a complaint as of gossip. It's where you really dip in to why something is so wrong. Because I don't say oi when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. This is the oi that goes to the level where it's so spiritually wrong that it's impossible.
So here's what else I'm thinking, because I'm also thinking of lament, and lament is the oi, the woe is me. Here is something I can't change about something that happened in the past.
I love that.
These complaints will then spring me out of the place where I'm stuck, out of Mitzrayim, and so it has a different quality of discernment.
Yeah.
It's the stuff I can't change. That's the lament.
Yeah.
The stuff I am now will be primed to make is when I tap into the kind of complaint that is going to shift something.
The anacha, tze'aka, ne'aka, ze'aka, all those, So that's the...
Yeah. Good.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay!
So let's end with offering a blessing. What's a blessing that comes out of this? I'll start and I'll let you wrap it up. So for me, in terms of the conference and the the theme of what we've been studying, that we're here. I'm here because the way we practiced our spirituality in Judaism when I was growing up was just wrong. It was not satisfying, right? And one of the things we were talking about here at the conference is climate change, and that we as Jews need to respond to the biggest concern of our time, which is, crying out loud, the world. We need big change. And we talked here about anger, about being angry and being scared, and that without anger and some fear, to a degree, not anger and fear that freezes us, but anger and fear that motivates us, that gets us going. And this is, this is what people of Israel here had to do. They had to come to the place where, this is unbearable, right? So my blessing, the blessing I take from here is that instead of complaining, we should have the blessing of and the courage of touching the depth of the fear and the concern about the world, about our communities, to a degree that's so earth and heaven shattering that it propels us to action that brings real change.
Mhm,
I'll
mhm,
pass it.
mhm, mhm. We learn that it's not global warming, it's climate crisis.
Mm,
And the moment when the Hebrews realized that they were caught was a crisis.
mhm,
And they couldn't take it anymore. And they cried out, which attracted God's attention. And ultimately, God is going to send Moses,
mhm.
and it's we will be birthed
Yeah.
into the next paradigm of making our way to Sinai
Yeah.
with a whole new covenant.
Yeah.
And so for me the blessing is the honesty to allow that cry
Mhm.
of the animals in Australia right now. I mean, the Australia is burning. There's deep crying going on, crying out. The earth is crying out, and we by allowing ourselves to be horrified,
Mhm.
maybe that will finally begin the path
Mhm.
to making enough substantial changes that are not the surface oil,
Mhm.
but the deeper oil.
Mhm.
Yeah. So may we be blessed with the strength and the courage to be honest about our situation,
Mhm.
because we have no more time for pretending
That's right.
that
That's
it's
right.
not happening.
We're doing that here in the conference, and may you be blessed back home. Bring that to your communities, to your families, to the streets. We just wanna mobilize, and because that's how we're going to hit the joy on the bumper sticker and beyond. Shalom for now.